Greetings, Tovarishi. Long time no see. Today we are going to talk about the so-called government medical system that we have, which is really a system of government and private collusion in the usual American form of public subsidy for private profit. The modern system we have originated, of course, in the 1960s through the well-intentioned Medicare and the Medicaid system, which basically functions as a system of government subsidy that allows medical corporations to become financialized by becoming bloated predatory leeches feeding off their smaller rivals. And a local example of this would be in the town in which I currently live, which at one time had 8 medical facilities. One took advantage of this system and basically swallowed up its rivals when they were not swallowed up by other predators like Ochsner, for instance, so that now this system has 4 major hospitals in the area with only about 3 left over that have become corporate subsidies. Not only does it, of course, devour its rivals in typical free market fashion, but it rips off its patients through selling procedures. In most markets now, the standard operating form is to sell procedures like you sell insurance policies. You're selling a colonoscopy. You're selling a heart catheter. And a good example of this was, of course, my father, who was told he needed a bypass surgery. And so he was brought to the hospital and prepped for it and taken off in the gurney to the theater. Only at the last moment, apparently the doctor who was doing the operation had a qualm of conscience and notified the hospital this man didn't need this procedure, that it wasn't serious enough to mandate cutting open his chest and rooting around into his cardiovascular system. And so miraculously my father was cured. He did not need this operation. The surgery was not required. And rather than admit that the hospital doctor misdiagnosed it or was just actually trying to profit off of a less serious condition, we just write it down to some sort of miracle in the theater. And this sort of thing goes on all the time. And unfortunately, there are many people out there who do not have a physician in the theater with a twinge of consciousness of professional ethics that will not allow him to perform a surgery on a patient without necessity. Medical corporations also rip off the insurance companies. Michael Moore's sicko only got it half right, because the root cause of the problem is not the insurance companies themselves, per se. They're villainous, but they're only secondary villains. They protect themselves from the medical system by cutting costs and saving their own asses at the patient expense. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. They have to save themselves from patient needs and the predatory instincts of the medical system. But even with government insurance, you're ripped off, because the procedures themselves, because they're paid for so much by the government, are doubled in price. For a procedure that might cost $20,000, it really only costs $10,000, and even with the government paying 80% to Medicare, it's nearly all pure profit to the hospital. You're really paying about 50% of the true cost for a procedure that should only cost half as much. It can still be ruinous to you because of their gouging, which is in turn caused by the free money. But even if with the government paying the total cost of procedures and medication, without overhaul of the whole medical system, it will gladly bleed the U.S. Treasury red than white. That is why government payer without government control is a bankrupting system. What needs to happen is the medical and pharma corporations must be broken up. We recall the atrocity of Martin Shkreli, the executive of Retrofin in Turing, going to jail for price gouging. As the a single pill of diaprim, ironically a malarial antiparasitic drug, went from $13.50 to $750 overnight. Sending him to prison is a good start, but it's a treatment, not a cure. These entities themselves need to be destroyed as such. Without that, a government-subsidized, government-payer system is not a solution. It would gladly replace the Pentagon as the single greatest leech in the government budget. So that, Tovarishi, is why the medical system we have here needs to be totally revamped, and why it will not happen. Why, even with the government-subsidized single-payer system advocated by progressive Democrats, you're looking at basically a terminal medical system in the long run.